Have you ever done something that you just knew wasn't the way to go, but you did it anyway? I recently went through this and it had very negative consequences. I'm finally getting back on track, but today I'm going to be sharing my experience with going against my gut so that you don't make the same mistake. You'll also learn about the power hour, how great it is, and how it can create huge results in your life. Are you ready to shift your mindset and tap into the opportunities that are waiting for you right now? Let's go. Welcome to the Creating Clarity podcast, where we talk about clearing the fog, shifting our focus, and uncovering opportunities that are hidden right in front of us. I'm your host, Dr. Liz Aguirre. Before I begin, I must emphasize that this work is separate from my professional medical work and does not represent medical advice or opinions of any specific organization. I love to share my knowledge with others, but it's very important that you hear what I'm about to say. You know what's best for you. Always listen to your gut. When you hear my words, take what works for you and leave the rest. We are all unique and different human beings. Yes, we can learn from each other. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can start from a higher ground if we find a mentor or someone to teach us what they've already figured out. Quite honestly, that's why I started this podcast and why I became a speaker. However, I want to be loud and clear here because I didn't follow my own advice. Always listen to your gut. Now, this can be challenging because there's a fine line between your gut intuition and fear. We often get the two confused, and fear can stop us and leave us paralyzed from taking action. I'm talking about gut instinct, as in that deep feeling inside of you when you know what the right answer is. So, here's what led to my big mistake and the lesson for today. I heard this presentation by a very successful physician. He's pretty awesome. He speaks about all his journeys and what he's accomplished. And specifically, he talks about the power hour, which is basically the hour in the day when you are the most energized and most productive. So, this guy said that we should be spending the power hour doing the most mentally challenging work for us. So for me, first thing in the morning is when I'm the most alert, most energetic, and I can get things done. Some people are night owls, so that might be 1 a.m. for them, or other people, it might be mid morning. But for me and this speaker, it's first thing in the morning. So he said, do the most mentally challenging work. Here's where I made the mistake. I had a morning routine that was working really well for me. I would get up, meditate, stretch, journal, do my reading, and exercise. Then I'd shower, get ready for the day, and start my workday. Instead of using my power hour to do these things, I changed because what I heard him say was to use it to do the most mentally challenging things. Those things aren't mentally challenging for me, they're easy. They fill my cup, they give me more energy, but I find them easy. So, what I did is I changed things up. I still meditate first thing in the morning, but I stopped doing all the other things, including working out. Now, typically, I'd get a quick 20 to 30-minute walk later in the day, and I convinced myself that that was good enough. For my power hour, instead of doing that normal routine, I started focusing on my newsletters, my podcast, content creation, those kind of things. And guess what happened? Okay, well, this part is going to be hard to admit, but here's what happened. I gained 30 pounds. Yep, you heard me right. I'm not kidding. 30 pounds. Now, I'll get into the weight gain discussion later in another episode once I've kind of processed it and worked through the mental challenges of that. It's been miserable, but don't worry. I am getting back on track. I've learned from it, and at some point, I'll be ready to share that experience with you. But for now, the important lesson is this: what works for me is not always going to work for you. What worked for this awesome, high achieving physician did not work for me. Take what works for you, but never at the expense of your gut and what it is telling you is the right thing to do. That's where I made my mistake. Now, I also kind of thought about this when we were growing up as kids. If you remember, we kind of fell victim to the peer pressure of the kids around us. I remember my mom telling me, well, if Jennifer jumps off a bridge, are you going to jump off of one too? Who else remembers your parents saying that, right? I remember that very, very clearly. And this is important point because what happens is we start comparing ourselves to the other people around us who are doing well, who are accomplished. And sometimes we don't take time to pause and allow ourselves to feel our true underlying feelings. And that's where my mistake was. If I had really stopped to feel what my gut was telling me, I would not have changed up my morning routine. I knew that changing up this awesome morning routine that was really working for me was the wrong thing to do. I knew that my morning routine was what was energizing me and leading to a more productive morning. I knew that I shouldn't have messed with what was working for me. But what happened was I fell victim to compare-itis. This is a term that one of my mentors uses, Dr. Una, and this is when we compare ourselves to other people. I always say that comparison is the enemy of joy, and that proved to be true once again because I fell victim to it. So, compare-itis leads us to believe that we're way behind, that we have it all wrong, that we're not good enough. It's all hogwash. It's all hogwash. I fell victim to it once again. I didn't follow my own advice. So, fast forward, I was out for a walk the other day and I heard this same guy interviewing someone else who also was talking about the power hour. They were both talking about how great it was. This other person had a different interpretation. He didn't say to do the most mentally challenging thing for the day. He said during the power hour, do the most challenging thing for the day. Not necessarily the thing that's most challenging, but the thing that challenges you the most, that you don't want to do otherwise. For me, that's exercise. If you're a bodybuilder who loves to spend 5 hours at the gym, then that's not the thing that's most challenging for you. If you want to prioritize your Bible reading and that's hard for you, then that might be the most challenging. But if you're a person who loves to read your Bible, that's not the most challenging. If you're dreading doing a work project and you need to get it done, then yes, that might be the most challenging thing that you need to do during your power hour. But for me, it's exercise. I always get lazy and I don't want to do that. So, with that said, I totally misinterpreted what this very successful guy said. Well, maybe I didn't. Maybe his interpretation was to do the most mentally challenging, but somebody else had a different perspective. And my perspective is I think I need to go back to do what's the most challenging for me, the most difficult that I don't want to do. Now, misinterpretation is common. It happens a lot. I've gotten defensive about things people have said because I interpreted them completely wrong. So be careful with how you interpret what I'm saying and what other people are saying, and really challenge the belief. If it doesn't resonate with you, do not accept it. So, back to the power hour. The question is, how will you use your power hour, whenever that might be? I'm a big fan of not just a healthy mind, but a healthy body. However, I get lazy too. I don't always want to exercise. And guess what? If you're like me and you really don't enjoy exercise all the time, then you might want to consider doing that during your power hour as well. Now, once I get into a great exercise routine, I love it and I want to do it. So, it might change. But whatever the case may be, either way, for us to be the best versions of ourselves, we need to take care of our bodies. It's the vessel that carries you through life. You might have all the boxes checked, great career, great family, lots of money. But if your body or your mind is not well, you can't enjoy these things. So, again, I'll talk about the weight journey and the physical health another day. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I'll end today by reiterating the important points. listen to your gut, learn from others and take what works for you, but ignore the rest. And know when your power hour is and use it to your advantage to do the things that you find most challenging. Lastly, I'll say this podcast is only helpful if you take action. You can write down my teaching points. You can sit and listen and think, wow, this is totally me. I get it. I need to do that. However, if you don't take action, the knowledge is useless. So I'm going to challenge you with two things. I want you to figure out when your power hour is, and I want you to figure out what the most challenging thing that you want and need to prioritize and schedule it for that power hour. I hope you found this helpful. It was really an eye-opening moment for me. I have a lot of work to do now. So if you found this helpful, do me a favor, share my podcast with a friend. I really want to be able to grow this and help other people. So I would appreciate you doing that. And that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you won't miss the next episode. And if you like this episode, please share it with a friend and give me a 5-star review so that I can reach more people. I'll see you next week.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions shared here are for information and educational purposes only. They do not serve as a medical or professional advice. They do not represent any academic, medical, or professional institution or organization. If you found this helpful, don't forget to leave a 5-star review.
Thank you.